Today, we're going to crack open a single document that's like a time capsule from a moment of pure financial panic. Inside is a lesson from one of the greatest investors of all time, and trust me, what he had to say back then, it might be even more important for us today. So, imagine this. What if you could fire up a time machine and go straight back to one of the most pessimistic, doom and gloom moments in market history, a time when literally everyone, from the experts to your next-door neighbor, thought investing in stocks was a total dead end? Well, guess what? That's exactly where we're headed. All right, buckle up. The year is 1978. And to really get what Buffett was up against, you have to understand the mood. You have to feel the fear that was just hanging in the air. The late 70s were frankly an economic nightmare. The US was stuck in this nasty trap called stagflation, which is a terrible combination of high inflation and high unemployment. Interest rates were through the roof. I mean, can you imagine? And the stock market, it had gone basically nowhere for an entire decade. It got so bad that a major magazine published a now famous cover story literally declaring the death of equities. The message was loud and clear. Stocks were over. But right in the middle of all this chaos, one investor was singing a completely different tune. And that right there is where our story gets really interesting. I mean, just look at this. The contrast is night and day. The crowd was screaming, "Stocks are dead, sell, get out." But Buffett was quietly telling his partners, "This is marvelous, let's go shopping." They saw a place to lose money. He saw a store full of bargains. Total opposites. And here it is, right from his 1978 shareholder letter. It was a marvelous period. Marvelous. Who says that? Who looks at a financial dumpster fire and calls it marvelous? This wasn't just some blind optimism. This was someone seeing the world through a completely different lens. So you have to ask, how did he have this much confidence? Was it a crystal ball? Nope. No magic here. It was all about his thinking. His mind was guided by a set of powerful logical principles, mental models that, lucky for us, we can pull right out of the text of this letter. First up, and this is probably the most important one of all, is the idea of the circle of competence. Look, it's such a simple but profound concept. You don't have to be an expert on everything. In fact, you shouldn't try to be. You just have to be honest about what you know and draw a little circle around it. When everyone else is panicking, that circle is your fortress. In the letter, he lays out his filter, his 4 simple tests. And check out what's number 1. Businesses we can understand. It's not about complex math or trying to predict the future. It's about common sense. He was just looking for great businesses run by great people that he could buy at a great price. That's it. This simple checklist was his defense against making huge emotional blunders. Okay, so knowing what to buy is one thing, but just as important is knowing what not to buy. And Buffett was a master at spotting the difference between a real business fortress and a business trap. And he uses his own company as an example. The textile business. He's brutally honest about it. He basically says, look, this thing is a money pit. It's a commodity trap because anyone can make the same product, competition is insane, and it's almost impossible to earn a decent return. It's just a constant uphill slugfest. But then you flip the page and he talks about Safeco, an insurance company he was buying, and the language is totally different. He calls it a business fortress, the best in its field with superb abilities. This is a company with a real durable competitive advantage, what he would later famously call a moat that protects it from the competition. And this right here, this is the punchline. This is where it all comes together. The market's absolute terror in 1978 meant he could buy a piece of this amazing, best-in-the-business company for less than it was actually worth. While other people were overpaying for so-so companies, he was in the public market getting a discount on a superstar. All right, this last mental model we can pull from the letter. This might just be the secret sauce. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the most honest with yourself. It's the power of intellectual honesty. You gotta love this. He doesn't make excuses, he doesn't blame the economy or bad luck. He points the finger directly at himself, your chairman. He flat out admits to expensive failures. And let me tell you, that's not weakness. In investing, that's a superpower. It builds incredible trust, and it makes sure you learn from your mistakes instead of repeating them. Okay, so we've traveled back to 78, we've seen the panic, we've decoded the thinking. So what's the big takeaway for us today? We can actually boil all this wisdom down into a single, timeless rule for investing. Here it is. It's a 3-step playbook. First, identify. Do the homework to find a truly wonderful business that's inside your circle of competence. Second, wait. And honestly, this is the hardest part. You have to have the discipline to be patient and wait for the world to freak out, to let pessimism create a bargain. And third, when that opportunity finally arrives, you act. You buy with conviction. That is the lesson of 1978. Because here's the bottom line. Markets are driven by human emotion, greed, and fear. That is never, ever going to change. So there will be another 1978. There will be another moment of extreme fear. The world will panic again. The only question is, when it happens, will you be ready?